Welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the prelim fights for UFC Fight Night on ESPN Plus, Blaydes versus Dos Santos. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card in our first prelim fight. So in our first fight, we have in the featherweight division, Herbert Burns versus Nate Landwehr. So I'm gonna call him Landwehr. So you got two guys just debuting in the UFC. But they are definitely not new, fresh faces to MMA. They've been around the game for a good little minute. I'm not saying they've been around for like over a decade, but they've been around, in these other organizations they've been fighting. They're not these guys that just fought 3 or 4 fights, then went on the Contender Series 1 or came in the Ultimate Fighter. These guys that are definitely more experienced than a lot of other new entrants to UFC, but definitely not the most experienced, but definitely more than enough experience compared to your regular entrants to UFC. But to get to the point, let's see how these kind of match up. Both fighters are the same height. Both fighters are roughly the same age, but they bring different skill set. Herbert Burns, what I see is him is he definitely needs to develop that striking a lot more, and I haven't seen that. His striking still looks very sketchy. Looks like he's not comfortable in that area. His takedown offense isn't the best, but his jiu-jitsu is phenomenal, top class. It's very phenomenal jiu-jitsu. But the issue with that is if you're not going to be the best striker, you're not going to be the best takedown artist, then you're going to have a lot of time, have struggle to be good at this level of competition that's in the UFC because all you can really do is grapple for the most part. What are you going to do when you can't take somebody down? Somebody's not going to put you in those positions. And even look at his Contender Series fight, the only reason he really got to the ground was because his opponent went to the ground with him. So, because he felt that he had confidence that he could win an area. And then Burns was able to take advantage of that. It wasn't because Burns was so phenomenal and hurt him and took him down, or Burns set up such a beautiful takedown, took him down, because the other guy pretty much obliged it. So I haven't really seen a fight where Burns showed solid takedown offense. So he's pretty much just a jiu-jitsu guy that has the issue, kind of struggles to get the fight to the ground. Now look at Nate Landwehr. He's not a phenomenal fighter either. He's solid. He's good and well-rounded. He gets kind of wild at times in the fight, and that leaves opportunities. But he still has solid hips, good takedown defense, much more comfortable on the feet, much more comfortable in the fight I've seen from him in all aspects, than whereas Burns is just really comfortable in the grappling. So I'm really going to lean to Nate Landwehr in this one. I just feel like he came from N1 Global. That's an organization with a lot of wrestlers, a lot of grapplers, a lot of Russians. So, and he's had pretty much won more than he lost in that organization. I'm not saying he was the best in that organization, but he held his own pretty well in that organization. So in short, I see that Landwehr is the better striker, the more comfortable fighter, more experienced. He has a takedown defense. And unless he gets wild and crazy in this fight, I didn't feel like this is a fight that just goes his way. Like, he'll be able to defend the takedowns, pick apart Burns on the feet, wear him out, and probably stop him in the second round. So in this one, I got Nate Landwehr via second round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have in the bantamweight division, Brett Johns versus Tony Gravely. So Brett Johns has been on a kind of a little bit of a down slope a little bit, but he's only lost to top competition. He lost to let me slow down a little bit. He's only lost to some of the better competition at this weight class. He lost to Aljamain Sterling, who's on a tear right now, and it was a relatively competitive fight. And he lost to Pedro Munoz, who was just up there with Aljamain Sterling until they fought. But Munoz destroyed him. But yeah, so he had a competitive fight with Aljamain Sterling and got destroyed by Pedro Munoz. But two of those guys right there are right there at the top of the division. They're not in the title picture just yet, or they're in the title picture, but they're not, competing for titles just yet. So he ain't losing to nobody really bad, or he ain't losing to nobody bad at all. Then you got Tony Gravely, who's just coming to the UFC now, had a successful Contender Series fight, showed some solid skills, etc., etc. So you got the newcomer versus a guy was that newcomer at one point and was on a tear, and then kind of, ran into that brick wall when you get to the higher level of the division. And now he's trying to rebound and Gravely trying to make his mark in the weight class. So how I see this fight right here, I see Brett Johns. He's the much cleaner striker in my opinion between the two. But I see where his issue in this one fight is that he's not really a power puncher. So I can see him having opportunities on the feet to tag Gravely, but I don't see him having the power to really be as effective as he needs to be in this fight. And I see Gravely is this athletic wrestler with a lot of power, a lot of strength, a lot of explosiveness. And he also has the cardio to maintain that wrestling pace and that pressure. He has good grappling defense. And on Brett Johns' side, he's not the best grappler, but he's a good opportunistic grappler. He can see a submission, attack it, unorthodox with a submission in his grappling game. But I see Gravely's base and his core and his, wrestling defense and grappling defense. He's just so aware of what's happening on the ground that I don't really see Brett Johns really having success countering him or catching him with any submissions. And I feel like Gravely's explosive in his power and his wrestling pedigree. I feel like he can put this fight on the ground a lot and really just beat Brett Johns to the punch a lot, being more athletic and being, just been that quicker, more athletic fighter. But I feel like Brett Johns at times can slow this fight down, but I feel like when he has those opportunities, he's not going to have the power to do enough to really tag or really slow Gravely down or stop him in place. And that's really going to allow Gravely to maybe momentarily freeze him for a little bit, but not enough to really have true success in this fight. And I feel like Gravely's power, his explosiveness, his wrestling, and his relentlessness, his pressure is really going to be the tell of this fight. I see it competitive, but I feel the power and the takedown, like the power on the shots on the feet, are going to be, the judge is going to be saying that a lot. And also the takedown and the control, pretty much the judge is going to be looking at that, and that's going to edge the decision for Gravely. I still see it competitive, but I feel like it's going to be clear cut that Gravely won this competitive fight. So in this one, I got Tony Gravely via decision. Now on to our next fight we have in the women's bantamweight division, Sarah McMann versus Lena Lansberg. And this is a pretty quick one right here. Lena Lansberg, not really the most impressive fighter at all. She's very tough. She's a gamer. She's competitive. And she's a warrior. She's good in the clinch, and she's going to put you against the cage and smother you a little bit, elbow you, knee you and stuff. But against Sarah McMann, I don't think that's really the best strategy. Sarah McMann is just much more stronger, more explosive, silver medalist wrestler. So if Lena Lansberg wants to play that game, she's going to get put on her back and just manhandled by Sarah McMann. Also, Lena Lansberg's takedown defense isn't the best. She does have some decent grappling on the ground, but I don't think they're really the best. She don't really have no power in her punches either. So I just feel like Sarah McMann really doesn't have too many issues with her. I still can see this being a competitive fight because, McMahon's been skidding and she's getting up there in age. But I feel like even with her, just her general skill set, just being able to have that pedigree in wrestling, that skill in wrestling, I see her she should have no problem putting Lena Lansberg on her back early and often throughout this fight. And I say pretty much dominate Lena Lansberg throughout this fight. She might even give that third round, maybe gassing out. But I feel like she could dominate those first two rounds relatively easy. I'm going to say she's still going to win this fight 30-27 on the scorecard. So in this one, I got Sarah McMann via decision. Now to our next fight we have in the bantamweight division, Montel Jackson versus Felipe Colares. So you got two solid fighters, two young fighters right here. I think Colares is 0-1 in UFC. I think Jackson is 2-1 in UFC. But this is another pretty straightforward one. I think they both kind of have similar styles, similar frames, but Jackson just better in every area. He's taller than him by 2 inches. He has a 6-inch reach advantage over him, and Colares actually has some pretty small arms. Well, maybe Jackson has long arms for the weight class, and Colares has about average. He's at a 69-inch reach, and I think Jackson has a 75, so 6-inch reach advantage, 2-inch height advantage. He throws, his output is 3 times more than Colares. He's more accurate than Colares, so he outworks Colares. He's taller, longer, rangier, outworks him, stronger than him, and really just beats Colares in every area. It's not like, oh, it's just like this guy does something different. Maybe it's a little bit of difference here and there, but just on average, they kind of have similar styles. It's that Jackson just literally better in every area, bigger, longer, stronger, faster, sharper, cleaner defense. That's pretty much to the point. I feel like Montel Jackson's just a better fighter all around. I think he just still a competitive fight, but I just think eventually Jackson, once the fight starts to settle down, and he starts to get his timing down, and he starts to put it on Colares, and I think he puts him away, and I think it happens late in the third. I mean, I say early, mid part of the third. So in this fight, I got Montel Jackson via third round TKO. Now on to our next fight we have in the women's flyweight division, Justine Kish versus Lucy Pudilova. So this is going to be another one I'm going to be straightforward with. I think Justine Kish is the more well-rounded fighter, but I think she hasn't fought in probably 2 years. Lucy Pudilova definitely has been more active. And Kish, she hasn't fought in a while, and I think before then she was fighting once a year or something like that. So been very inactive, but she is the more well-rounded fighter. She has the better grappling game. Can she implement it? Maybe. Has Lucy Pudilova been working on it a little bit? But other than that, I think Pudilova is the longer, rangier fighter, and she's been more active. Neither of them have been the most successful, but I'm going to rate the activity, and she has a higher work rate, and she's been more active. And I feel she'll be able to use that length and that range, and the fact that she's been active to be the more fresher fighter, well, not fresher in the sense that, she's been resting, but at least that fighter that's not having octagon, ring rust. So I feel like she'll be more active, be more sharp, because it's going to be for Kish, it's going to be a lot of trying to get her feet wet again and get warmed up in this fight, whereas Pudilova has been there, done that. She's been active, and it's be able to outwork her to a decision. I still see she's competitive, but the fact that she's been active and Kish hasn't, and this is a very close competitive fight, probably in the cage and on paper, I just feel that activity is going to serve Pudilova well, and I see her winning the decision. So in this fight, I got Lucy Pudilova via decision. Now on to our co-prelim headliner we have in the featherweight division, Arnold Allen versus Nick Lentz. So Arnold Allen's 25-26. I think Nick Lentz is 35-36. So it's like a 10-year age difference between the two. Yeah, 10-year age difference between the two. What else? So I see this one. Nick Lentz, I would say he's the better grappler between the two, per se, in a way. Especially if he probably did pure grappling. But what I think it really comes down to, it's MMA fights. So that's what it comes down to. I see Arnold Allen is the cleaner striker between the two. Nick Lentz has been improving on striking, been getting more power in the strikes. understanding of distance, more comfortability on the feet, more used to that area. But Arnold Allen, I just see him as a cleaner striker. He's more comfortable on the feet, better jab. His punches are shorter. I mean, they are at least cleaner, not as much, wind up, not as much pockets to counter. Whereas Nick Lentz, a lot of times he gets sloppy at times and throw these wider shots, and especially on defense. Nick Lentz's defense is still questionable. But yeah, Nick Lentz's defense is very questionable. Yeah, questionable defense on Nick Lentz. I feel like as far as the grappling thing I said, I don't think it's that big of a difference between that gap and that grappling, especially not in the MMA sense. I feel like Aaron Allen understands situations, situational grappling as far as MMA. And I know he's going to know that Nick Lentz's best move is that guillotine. That's really the main thing he has to worry about. And avoid not getting his neck in that position. And I feel like even in grappling aspects, I think Aaron Allen can secure some takedowns against Nick Lentz, wear him out against the cage or at distance. And it's really, like I said, probably win a close, competitive decision, but I feel like Arnold Allen's cleaner techniques allow him to, be landing the shots, be better at defending the shots, and really just winning the strike differential between the two. Probably by, at least, I'd probably say about a 5 to 10 significant strike differential between the two, at least. That's probably why I say at least that enough. So he still wins a decision, probably close, might give up a round, but still winning the fight. And especially, going to later rounds when Nick Lentz's work rate starts to drop a little bit, and then he has to rely on his technique and defense a little bit, which aren't the best. His technique isn't the sharpest, so if the fight goes in, it's going to drop. His defense already not been the best, going to drop. And I feel like, especially in those rounds, Arnold Allen's really going to be able to, win those rounds clear, or win those areas or that period in time, the tired time in the rounds clear. So, but yeah, basically, competitive decision. Arnold Allen, I just feel like he has skill sets to neutralize with Nick Lentz's strength, and then capitalize off his own strength. So in this fight, I got Arnold Allen via decision. Now to our prelim headliner, not our main event, our prelim headliner. We have in the middleweight division, Bevan Lewis versus Dequan Townsend. Look at Dequan Townsend. I think he's coming from the light heavyweight division, dropping down the middleweight division. Pretty tall fight. I think he was 6'4", 6'5". You got Bevan Lewis. He's not the shortest out. I think 6'2", 6'3". Dequan Townsend has a very fast jab, but that's really about it. He's got some pretty fast hands. Not the most power, but if he had a little bit more confidence in his boxing, he could definitely do a lot more with that jab, set a lot of stuff off that jab, but he kind of just throws it out there and doesn't really follow up too much. I feel like Bevan Lewis is the more experienced fighter, the more comfortable fighter. He has had a bad skid coming into the UFC, came out looking good, and got stopped in the last round by Uriah Hall. And then he pretty much got destroyed and wiped out in his last fight. I don't think he get finished. I think, whatever the case, he got outclassed in that second fight. He just didn't look confident at all, or comfortable at all. But against against Townsend, I just think Bevan Lewis just has far more tools, far more experience. And I think he just definitely has more tools, more experience. That's pretty much it. I think he could chew up Townsend's leg, being that Townsend just really just a boxer for the most part. Could chew up his leg and take advantage of him in the clinch. I don't know if it's going to be better to put a Muay Thai clinch given how tall Townsend. But I think against the cage, maybe some underhooks, he could dig some knees to the body. And just really mix in the full game. Maybe get some takedowns off the taller Townsend after he chews the legs up. But yeah, basically more tools, more experience. And Townsend really just kind of has one or two weapons. And I think Lewis can neutralize those one or two weapons and pick them apart. But I don't think it's like a stoppage on that side. I just think it's a decision. Just wearing him down, being technical, being clean, and just sticking to his strengths and taking away from Townsend's strength and beating him to decision. So in this one, I got Bevan Lewis via decision. And that concludes my predictions for the prelims of UFC Fight Night on ESPN Plus, Blaydes versus Dos Santos. And as always, thanks for watching.